Hello, my name is Annette Deleu, and you are listening to The Heart of You. Welcome back. Today we are discussing family constellation therapy. And to talk about this, we are joined by Maureen Sélénée. She brings the transformative power of family constellations to help people heal from family wounds and find individual blocks rooted in the family system. Her clients are able to get to the root of their pain in order to not only heal themselves, but the generations before and after them. You can read about her work in her book, Connected Fates, Separate Destinies, published by Hay House. Maureen, I'd like to welcome you to The Heart of You.
Thank you so much, Annette, for having me. Thank you for your trust.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time and your energy. And I'm so excited to hear all about family constellation therapy because I've heard a lot about it. And I think I told you early on in our communication that I first heard about family constellations through the Netflix show Another Self,
Yes,
which is a Turkish show.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it absolutely fascinating. So I got on Google and I was like, okay, I have to find somebody to interview about this. And that's how I found you. So I'm so happy you were able to be here.
Thank you so much. Here I am.
Yes. So how I like to start each episode is to tell our audience a little bit about you and your spiritual journey.
Okay, sure. So, born and raised in France. That's a Frenchy accent. And for the past 15 years, I've been living in the United States. Right now, I'm in Miami. And actually, this is thanks to America in a way that I had my spiritual awakening.
Oh,
Because
wow.
15 years ago, yes, when I moved to Miami at first with my first husband, I was a very skeptical French girl, like tough cookie. I don't believe in anything, at that time, the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne was a great success, like about manifesting, as believe, receive. And I was like, yeah, great, sure, go for it. But thanks, I met an amazing woman in Miami and she introduced me to meditation, spirituality, and ultimately family constellations. And after, studying psychology in Paris, I did not really know what I wanted to do with it. And I guess family constellations found me because I just fell in love with the process. I was so surprised, but in a good way, like, oh, wow, this is what happens, like when you finally focus on your family story, you can finally understand where you came from and why, like you're struggling with patterns, dynamics, behaviors now in your current life. And for me, it was really like an awakening, not only for my career as a professional therapist, but also on a personal level. I finally got, I would say, my answers in terms of my love life and why I could not move on, like with my man and understanding, my relationship with my dad. Everything made sense, basically.
Yeah.
At that moment, first workshop, first family constellation workshop, I was like, wow, it blew my mind, to be honest with you. And it was like, 15 years ago, 14 years ago that I started, diving deeper in my roots, in my family. And I also developed spirituality, my own, with my own tools, my own books and everything. But I have to say, 15 years after, I'm pretty happy of where I am at the moment.
So did you study psychology in Paris in France? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
And so you already had that background?
Yes.
Got it.
I've always been passionate about understanding people, understanding my emotions. I was a very oversensitive child, little girl, and my parents, they were great, but unfortunately emotionally unavailable. And no matter what, that was not the generation, to be open, to their emotion and feelings, especially from men.
Yep.
So I suffered from it. And my mom as well, because she could see, I was struggling, but in the meantime, she didn't know what to do.
Right.
So for me, it has always been an interesting theme to understand, like people's psychology,
Mm,
because in a way, it also helped me to control my environment.
right.
If I can control my feelings and emotions, like I'm in charge, so I'm going to feel less anxious or sad or stressed out, for example.
Mm.
So yeah, psychology was my thing.
Well, and it makes a huge difference too generationally because, as you say, I think a lot of people who are in their adulthood now, their parents didn't have a lot of those tools and didn't really
No.
know how to express emotions the way that maybe parents now would.
Mm, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. It has changed, tremendously changed for the past 40 years, I would say.
absolutely. So, can you tell me what exactly family constellation therapy is?
So, family constellations is a way of uncovering and dissolving any blockages affecting your life, your personal life, your love life, your health, your career, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with money, anything. We look at your story, your childhood, your parents' stories, your grandparents' stories.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I really want to be honest here. Whatever you know about your story is more than enough. Because how many times,
Oh,
my clients are like, oh my God, Marine, I don't have my parents anymore. So I don't know if I could work with you. That's okay. Whatever you know is more than enough. Okay. The stories that you know is perfect. So based on your family story and also the secret and what's missing, actually, what you do not know is actually the most interesting part
mm,
because it says a lot about your family dynamics. And so from your family story, we can finally help you to heal from it because from generation to generation, we pass on trauma on a subconscious level and also on a cells level. The term is epigenetic. And so when you are not aware of those former traumas, unfortunately, subconsciously, you're going to try to heal from it,
mm-hmm.
but because at first you were not even part of the problem, you cannot be part of the solution. So you are just going to exhaust yourself of working on yourself and thinking that there is something wrong with me. I mean, it's been 5 years of therapy and I'm still not okay.
Right.
But the truth here is it's because it is in your past. It is in your family story. And through family constellations, we are just going to recognize what happened. We are just going to acknowledge what happened. And as simple as it sounds, it is actually true freedom here.
It's incredible that this exists to me because I found out some of these things through my own exploration, but it took me a really long time. So,
Mm-hmm.
10 years of therapy that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want
Yeah.
to say it didn't work entirely. It did work to an extent, but it only could take
Mm-hmm.
me so far. And
Mm-hmm.
then, after doing a lot of the spiritual work that I've done, that's when I finally was able to get to some of this information. And but it was a long time. It took a very, very long time because I actually just recently found out about family constellation. So I don't know that much about it in order to actually speak to it, right? So to know that like I've done some of this work, but it was let's say it was the long road around, right? It took me a long time to get to the point where I was saying, oh, my parents didn't know how to process their own trauma, and my parents didn't know how to really express love. Hence, they couldn't love me the way I wanted to be loved. Like to get to that basic statement took decades, So it's wonderful to hear that this is a tool that can get you there relatively quickly. So, how does it work?
So you have two options in a way with family constellations. You can either do it in a group setting,
Okay.
like the one you can see in the TV show, Another Self,
Mhm.
or you can also do it in one-on-one.
Okay.
Okay. At first, like most of the time, the facilitator or therapist is going to ask you questions about what you would like to work on. And again, it can be on anything. Okay. It can be about a relationship, maybe with your mom. It can be anxiety. It can be infertility. It can be addictions, eating disorders, anything. Okay. Anything that you have been struggling with. And despite your best efforts, like to heal from it, it's still there. Okay. Or it still comes back.
Sure.
And then we are going to ask you questions about your parents and your childhood. Are your parents still together? Have you, I don't know, like, is there any other addict in your family? Or, questions, to get just a bigger picture. Okay. Where are you from? Were you born in the United States? Are you the first generation born there? Things like that. And then when you are in a group setting, the people being here with you are going to represent the situation. When I say represent, I'm going to try to be as clear as possible, but watch the show. It's very helpful. They are going to channel the former emotions and feelings in regard to the issue. So basically, those people, they don't know who you are. Okay. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know your story. They don't know anything about you. They are going to represent your grandfather, your mother, your father, your country of origins, and they're going to be able actually to channel the emotions connected to that issue. And from there, the healing is going to start because then there is a dialogue that are going to happen between each participant and you as a client, you're going to be able, hopefully, of course, to get a reconciliation. Basically, it's bringing back together what was once separated because the family system does not like separation. The family system does not like void. The family system is always looking for reparation. It's always looking for acknowledging each family member. So that's what we do in a workshop setting. On a one-on-one, it's the same questions, story, and then, for example, me, I use props. I use footsteps props that my client is going to place on the ground, on the floor, and then one by one, he or she is going to close their eyes, and I will just ask, how do you feel here? Again, it's going to represent a constellation. Why the term of family constellations is because when you look at the stars, okay, at the constellation in the sky, it looks like a family tree. All of the stars, have their own place and they all belong and they're all important. Well, that's the same thing for your family tree and so family system. And so during the process, you are going to feel a lot, Annette. I'm not going to lie to you. It's very emotional, as well as for the representatives, because it's like inherited trauma, inherited feelings, inherited patterns. Your body also is going to feel things, that maybe, you have been repressing for, I don't know, the past years. And after that, most of the time, at least you are going to feel lighter. That's for
Right.
sure,
Yeah.
like something, like shifted. And then, I always say give it 2 weeks just to self process it on your own. Because no matter what, Annette, every time I do a family constellation, it's always a huge surprise for my clients. It's like, wow, I would have never thought of that. It's always like, really, Maureen, that miscarriage before me was my issue. Things like that, because it's kind of like a philosophy of life, actually, family constellations, like it's all about acceptance, order, acknowledgement, recognition. And it's pretty new, actually. It's also like another perception, another point of view that we are still not really used to it, even so we are in 2023. So it's also another way, like of acknowledging, your parents and grandparents and your family and your past. And like you said it so beautifully, actually. And it's like, I finally understood why my parents could not love me the way I wish I could have been loved.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, if they would have been able to do differently, they would have,
Yeah.
but they weren't
Absolutely.
able.
Absolutely.
And when you finally came to that conclusion, it's freedom here because you can tell your little girl, inner child, little girl, little boy, here it is, sweetie, but don't worry, now I'm gonna give you that love, and here is a true healing.
When it comes to really hearing that and feeling that, do you feel that either the group setting or the individual setting is one more powerful than the other, or are they just different experiences?
It's different experiences,
Mm.
but I would say the more your heart is opened, and
Mm.
I know it sounds very cheesy because we want to control.
Yes,
That's
of
the thing
course.
about being a human being, like we
Yeah.
want to control.
Yeah.
And in family constellations, there is no way that you can control anything. You cannot control the representatives. You cannot control the knowing field. That's where the constellation takes its own place. So I can see it right away if you are in your resistant mode. And I'm just going to tell you, listen, I think it's best for you to not do anything today, because your resistance, is only going to create more anger, and you're not going to be vulnerable enough to receive the healing. Because, for example, when you're like, oh, I hate my mom, she can die, I don't care. Okay. And then, you do your constellation, and here you can see that actually the little boy that you wear is actually craving for her love. And then you're like, no, that's not true. I hate her. You know what? I hate her. Like, I don't want her love. But deep down, you do know actually that you're just craving for love. But if you are not ready also to accept your own truth and the reality, it can also be pretty damaging. And I don't want to force anyone. So then it really depends, like on where you are at the moment. But I would say, honestly, Annette, for the past 10 years, offering workshops and working on one-on-one, maybe it happened 5 times
Okay.
maximum, that one of my clients were like, no, I just, it's foolish, like I don't want to do that, I just want to, put a mess. So forget
Right.
about it. But yeah, other than that, I think it's just people who really, really want actually to heal and to be free from their difficult past. And it takes courage. I forgot also to mention one thing. It has been, again, for the past 10 years, anytime I do a workshop, all of us in the room, me included, we at least share one common theme. It can be all of us, are immigrants, or all of us, had an abortion, like every time, Annette, there is always a connection.
Oh, that is
Always.
so cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention this because I really don't believe in coincidence.
No,
So
I don't
that's why I
either.
also think that's the beauty, like of being connected for 4 hours together. And really, this workshop can also create deep bonds without even, like entertaining it after, but it's like for 4 hours, you feel so connected, and it's beautiful to witness.
Yeah. When it comes to the people who are coming together in the group setting, is every single person going to get a healing, so to speak, or is it just focused on one person for that session?
No, I don't. Me, I'm the queen of doing a lot of constellations in my workshop. I'm well known for that, and that's then it's a style. Okay,
Okay.
my style, but it's only my style. I mean, I've done other workshops, with other therapists, and they take an hour, so you can only do 3 clients. Like me, my approach is I don't want quick. I don't want to say quick in a negative way, but I want to keep the momentum. Because the thing is, it's very draining. At first, like for the first constellation, it's like, oh yeah, let's do it, let's do it. But after 3 or 4, like when you constellate rape, sexual abuse, like being abandoned, being rejected, it starts building up on your shoulders. It's like, okay, like let's dive deeper, let's dive. So it's hard, it's draining. So my thing is just I give 20, 30 minutes per client to
Okay.
get their constellation, because I also think at some point you're just going to be stuck in your mind and trying to make sense of what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
While actually, family constellation is really about feeling.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I want to make sure to stop before my client is going to think, is going to be stuck in his mind and trying to be like, okay, Marine, who is that already? Who is that? No, sweetie, it's not the point. The point is I want you to feel. So me in my workshops of 4 hours, most of the time I do between 8 to 10 constellations. But the beauty of this work is even so you do not receive your own constellation, by representing or even by only observing, you are also healing. Because you might represent a father that is exactly like your father, and you're going to be like, oh my God, it was so great to have actually his own perception, feeling it. Like it's beautiful. It's really an exchange of giving and receiving multiple healings at time. Yeah.
Yeah. When you mentioned that it's surprising for a lot of people what comes up or the reasons why they were feeling what they were feeling, and the fact that they were surprised, instantly I started, sort of chuckling to myself, because I know with the clients that I've worked with, when that happens, when they're surprised at what comes out, it's because they're constantly in their head and they're not in their heart.
Mhm.
And so this is the first time they're in their heart. And once you ask your heart, that's where the truth is. It's not in your head, it's in your heart. And so if you have a group of 10 people all accessing their heart spaces, all healing simultaneously. I can imagine that is incredibly, incredibly powerful.
Yes, it is. It's a
Wow.
heart connection on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
Now, the people who take part in the constellation, you mentioned that they would be sort of channeling the emotion. Are they
Mm.
actually channeling, like they are actually in a meditative state where they're channeling something, or is it just sort of they sort of intuit the what the feeling might be?
Yeah, not at all. It's like they're not at all in a meditative state. It's like the knowing field, it's where you structure, like where the constellation is going to take place.
Mm,
And this creates a quantum physics.
yeah.
We have been talking more and more about it, like
Hmm.
when people, like are in a very concrete and safe place, like they can exchange energies,
Yeah.
like there is a quantum field. So in a way, that's what's going on in a constellation. They are just going to feel the connection towards that person. And I always say, you will feel the difference between your own emotions and the emotion of that person or that emotion or that situation that you are representing. But again, it's very hard to, and I understand it's very hard, to make sense right now while listening to us. So that's why Another Self is great on Netflix, but also videos on YouTube. You have a few of them. And other than that, please try your constellation workshops. Like it's a fabulous experience.
And I imagine that because you're the facilitator, that your energy is somewhat setting the tone in that quantum field. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm kind of like the director,
Yeah.
like putting everyone, because I have to make them safe. I have
Yeah.
to hold space for them. I also have to be mindful of others. It's really like one of my friends who at some point, like she attended one of my workshops. She was like, it's like an orchestra.
Yeah.
You're like, like putting everything, and it's like a beautiful rhythm and music, Maureen. And I don't see myself while doing it, to be honest with you, Annette. I'm really in the moment, like I'm really focusing on these 4 hours. After that, I will crash in the next hour because I would give my entire intuition, intellect as well, of course, and knowledge. But yeah, I give the energy, of course, like it's my workshop. So there is a piece of me in it. That's for sure.
Right. When you were mentioning that you've had a few people, but not many, but a few who were in their resistance, did you
Mm.
find that if they switched topics, that they might be able to be not in resistance? So you use the example of the mother, like if he was saying, "Oh, I really hate my mother." If you
Mhm.
were to change topics, would you find them to be more receptive to something else?
No, not at all. Because
Really?
those people, no, because those people want to be right.
Oh,
And it's
interesting.
dangerous. It's a
Okay.
very dangerous place to be right. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to be happy, I
Yeah.
can definitely help you.
Yeah.
If you want to be right, we are going to disagree
Right.
because I'm going to show you something that I think actually will be valuable for you. But in the meantime, if you don't think it's valuable and you want to be right in your own solutions, like, because, I would say, so those type of clients who wants to be right, honestly, Annette, I cannot do much for them. I can just tell them, very nicely, listen, I feel, like you really want to make a point here and I really acknowledge your pain, but if you do not trust me, it's not going to go anywhere. And I don't want to waste my energy and time. And I also don't want you to waste your energy and time. Then there is another type of clients, the controlling one. I have a lot of love for them because I used to be a control freak.
Mhm.
I would say now that I'm a control woman.
Me
It's
too.
getting better.
Me too.
The
Yep.
freak, like is over now.
Mhm.
It's like when I like, okay, what would you like to work on? Okay, Marine, I'm here for my mother because I think, like, like it's and so I would love to get that outcome. And I'm like, okay, so if your mother is not doing great, maybe she should come to one of my workshops. But in the meantime, what about you? And then most of the time, because my clients say with my Frenchy accent, they feel like I am more open, like it's more chill in a way, like it's just like less serious. They are going to smile actually. And they're going to be like, okay, Marine, you're right here. So what's going on for you? And then they just drop the control, like, and they're like, okay, this is what I would love to work on. And here it's a beautiful constellation again.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, because oftentimes the challenge is when somebody puts the blame on another person,
Yeah.
right? So they're saying, "Oh, it's not for me. It's not for me. It's,
Mhm.
they have the problem. It's their fault," or,
Yep.
placing the blame. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, so let's look at what's going on within you in that,
Yeah, but it's
you know?
yes, of course, it's a child's
Yeah.
attitude. You're
Yeah.
not an adult at that moment.
Yeah.
And if you're not an adult, it means you're not responsible, so you cannot heal. It's as simple as that. If you really want to do any type of therapies or healing modalities, you also have to be responsible for your own shit. Yeah, pardon my French,
Oh, yeah.
but that's what you have to. Sorry about that. I was like, find another word, Marine.
No,
Find another
it's
word. So
fine.
she lives in Paris, so she knows how French can curse.
No, it was just really cute that
Sorry.
you just said "pardon my French," which is such an American, like, saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But I think it's very funny for me because I'm French and
Exactly.
speaking English and I say shit. So I love saying it. It's like, I'm like, okay, it's cute. It's a cute Frenchy
It's
exit,
adorable,
like
yeah.
to apologize. So, but yeah, like you have to be aware that you have to take full responsibility. And again, that's when you want to be happy and not right anymore. A child wants to be right.
Yeah.
You can see it, between siblings, if you have kids and everything, they want to be right, like they don't want to admit that there is something wrong. Okay. But as an adult, like you were saying, if you keep blaming or complaining about others, like for your miserable life, you're not going to go anywhere.
When it comes to the healing of the individual that is doing the constellation, how quickly does that happen? So energetically and then
Mhm.
consciously, how quickly can you expect that healing to really anchor?
So, you know what? Sometimes it can happen during the constellation.
Okay.
I don't want, to sell something. Oh my God, like this is what I want, this is what I need. But sometimes when you are ready, I would say when you've been working on yourself a lot and you have no more blockages, your reconciliation and healing can take place the day of the workshop. Everything, can shift in an instant. However, I would say that usually if we were able to get a resolution slash a reconciliation during the workshop, it's going to take 2 weeks
Okay.
to really process everything, to make it yours. You might have breakthrough on your own, aha moments, new insights. Things are going to unfold. So just trust the process. So 2 weeks is it's a nice period. Then, unfortunately, sometimes we cannot get to a reconciliation or resolution. Not because something is wrong for you, not because you are too broken. No, not at all. It's just sometimes things take time. Okay. And so some of my clients come to me once, as some of my clients works with me for 2 years. Okay. So there is no rush in healing because again, the beauty of healing is every day you heal something. Even so, it's invisible. Even so, it's not going to be a drastic change, like trust me, your cells, everything within yourself is actually feeling it. And you really need to have faith in that. It is so important. So I would say, of course, when you are a novice, when you're a beginner in your healing journey, well, yes, maybe it's going to take a few more sessions. But when you are a pro, like when you know what's going on, of course, in an hour, it can be resolved.
And even when you have been doing this work for a long time, such as you and I,
Hmm.
it can still take a little while. Like just recently, we had the full moon just a few days ago.
Yes.
And normally, actually, I would say for the last 6 months, I've had friends who have been like, "Oh, this full moon, it's just killing me. Oh my God." And I'm like, "I'm actually good. I'm fine. Like I'm not feeling much." And then this full moon, it just completely knocked me over. Like all kinds of things were coming up for me. And it finally, like, it took 3 days to work through it. And I actually ended up pinpointing that it was a past life for me that I needed to take a look at. So I went into my Akashic records, looked at that, and resolved it. But it was so intense and so huge that I have literally had like an energetic hangover for the last like 3-4 days.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I know the healing is taking place, and my body is basically saying, you need to rest, you need to sleep,
Hmm.
you need to take care of yourself, like just let the healing happen and move through you. And still to this moment, I still don't know exactly why it came up when it did and what the reason for all of that was. But I know that, and I can trust now that moving forward, it will be revealed to me at some point as to why it came up when it did, what that was all about, why I needed to heal from it, and why that happened in the first place. Right. So I
Exactly.
just need to trust that it's going to come.
That's beautiful. And I'm
Yeah.
very happy for you that you got a healing. No, it's that you got a healing, during that full moon. I think so many people actually having in your situation right now, like of transformation. It's a deep transformation for me right now. So, yeah,
Mm, yeah.
mm,
And I mean,
I agree with you.
it's not easy to go through the transformations, right? I mean,
No,
it's,
never.
it's hard. It's messy. It's not like a straight line. There's all kinds of things that can happen. So, yeah, it's always really helpful to have other people that can help you with this, right?
Exactly. I mean, it takes a village,
It
you don't
does.
have to be on your own to do it. And
Mhm.
I mean, like you were saying, me too, it's been 15 years working on myself. And let's be honest, sometimes I get the same teaching and I'm like, again, really? I just want to say the F word, like, and be
Yeah.
like, you know what, I'm done with it, like, so it's not because, like we seem, like, oh my God, they must be so happy now and fulfilled. No, you know what? I'm still a human being. I will still make mistakes. I have still so many things to learn. So don't be a fool here, okay? Like really embrace your own journey. And like you were saying, just trust yourself and trust the process. Because at the end of the day, I really think everything makes sense. And it's when when we want to fight against it, actually, that's when actually it becomes harder and harder.
Yeah, and I fought for a good long while during my life. So I
Yeah.
fought and I fought and I fought until I finally realized that, oh, wait, letting go of the reins and actually letting go
Hmm.
and allowing all of this to happen makes it go a lot quicker. So, okay, cool.
Yeah. But it took me a lot of years to understand that. It took
Me
me
too.
38 years.
Me too.
So here it is.
Absolutely. It's so funny that you what you just said about how we're always healing and this and this and that and things coming up again. And I ended up talking to this guy recently who is French. He lives here in Paris, and he came across my website, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so positive, and oh my gosh, like you must live every day in joy." And I was like, no. I'm like, I do live in joy a lot of the time, yes, but
Hmm.
it's not always just joy. I mean, I go through my cycles, I go through my healing, I go through,
Hmm.
it just it takes a lot shorter of amount of time than it used to. That's the beauty of being able to do this work and have the village like you're talking about, having the
Yeah,
support, because when you have that support already in place, when
it's
something
easier.
like what just happened with the full moon, I was
Mm,
able to call my mentor and say,
mm,
"Hey,
mm.
I'm stuck in this. Can you please help me?" Right? And it's like, yeah, could I go into my own Akashic records? Absolutely. But was it much easier to have it with her guiding me? 100%, because there were still these blind spots that I wasn't seeing. And that's what is so important about the work that you're doing, is that this bypasses the ego. So you're not going to be stuck in those blind spots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell me a little story about one of the more powerful experiences you've had,
As Marine or for one of my clients, Annette?
as you choose.
Okay. I'm going to talk about my own story.
Sure.
Long story short, my father, my parents got divorced when I was 21, 22. And my father, for his own reason, decided to disappear. He could not cope with the divorce. He didn't want to get divorced from my mom. She was the love of his life. And so he told my brother and I that we did not exist anymore.
Oh, wow.
Like it was just over. It was very violent,
I can imagine.
like for 22 years, and my brother was 18, 17, like to hear that, listen, I have no animosity towards you, but if your mom leaves, you are
Wow.
nobody for me. And so 10 years, it took 10 years. I worked a lot on my relationship with him. I did not, I was not doing it in a way of him reappearing in my life. I was doing it, just like to heal from my relationship with him, like and understand also his own point of view, and what happened. So then, we repeated some things that he actually experienced as a child. But the beauty of that work is I finally made peace with him. I was like, listen, you know what? You're my father, wherever you are. I take you as you are, and it is what it is. And in 2015, my brother was not doing okay, and I was very worried about him. And I mean, I guess as a psychologist, also, you want to save, your family, like it's also like a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, listen, I have to bring back my father in his life. I have to bring back the masculine. And so I sent an email to my dad. And the first time his answer was really shitty. And then finally, he sent me another email and he came to New York to see me for 4 days. And I have to say, I would not have been able to deal with that without the constellations that I did between him and I. I was not in the resentment, anger, I was very, like aware of my boundaries, very aware of like, you're my father. And so 2015, yeah, for the past 8 years, my father has been back in our lives. He actually has now a beautiful friendship with my mom, which was like, I mean, you could not believe it, 10 years ago.
Incredible.
So it was incredible, like my brother is now a father, like, and it helped him also tremendously. So that was wonderful, I would say, like really, that was really one of the highlights of doing constellations for me. But then, I mean, probably the most touching, I mean, so many, but when a woman has been molested or sexually abused, and when finally she sent me an email like, Marine, I'm in love with a man and I'm pregnant. I mean, I'm very touched. When also a woman has been struggling, with getting pregnant, and after 8 years and doing a few consultations, she's like, Marine, I'm pregnant. And then she sent me another email, Marine, I'm pregnant of twins. We did too much now. In 3 years, I have 3 kids, and she was 40. So you see things like that. I mean, it makes me believe.
Yeah.
It makes me have faith.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is things that we cannot fully understand, and that's okay. You know what? But that's why also I love doing my job. Because I don't want to say miracles, but it's kind of like that, like it's like, hey, like if you just do the little thing, of acknowledging and recognizing and just speaking your truth, miracles can happen in a minute.
Absolutely. And I feel that faith is built upon tiny miracles because people have a tendency to expect the big miracles. And of course, those happen. But over the course of time, for me personally, my faith has been very much rooted in all of the proof that I've received in these tiny little ways. All of these small little things that have happened that have shown me definitively that the energetic work is where it's at. That's what makes a difference. That's what shifts and changes relationships. It's everything.
Exactly. I agree with you.
Yeah. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit to the individual therapy. And when you're doing this with just, one-on-one clients, how much more intense is it for the client?
I would say it's less intense than a workshop.
Oh, it is.
It's less intense than a workshop
Oh,
because
okay.
because it's only you.
Mm,
So there is less emotions involved, I would say,
mm,
less energy. So it's less intense,
okay.
but the effectiveness of the therapy is the same.
Okay.
However,
Got it.
it's less intense on an emotional level because it's only you that you have to deal with. And you also get my full attention. Like, I
Oh,
mean, I'm
okay,
not
right.
divided, between 10, 20, 30 people,
Sure.
it's just you and I. So I can take my time, of course, more, asking more questions,
Mm,
letting my client come to me in a way,
mhm,
like based on his or her own rhythm,
mm,
like because it's a deeper work.
right.
I know that, like when I do personal sessions, it's like, this person really wants to take her time or his time. So there is no rush. And I think also it helps the client to not be in the expectation of like, oh my God, it has to happen now. It has to happen now.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
And yeah.
When you were describing all of the experiences that everybody would have in the group, I guess I was imagining that the individual would then have each one of those experiences, but on their own with you. So is that not the case? Is it not?
It's different, Annette. It's
Okay.
different because here it's a dialogue with yourself, first of all.
Right.
Like It's really based on your own feelings.
Mm,
It's a one-on-one relationship, and
mm-hmm.
also this projection, that you do have on your therapist too. So it's another angle.
Yeah.
But of course, like, I mean, and I'm very glad, it happens too. Like most of the time, my clients on one-on-ones are like, wow, like it's just like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a new way of thinking and seeing things. And they're like, it's a relief for them.
Mm,
Definitely.
that's awesome. It's great to hear
Definitely.
that because I guess it would make a difference on the client and how they feel if they feel comfortable working in a group or if they feel more comfortable working on their own or
Yes.
one-on-one. So to
Mm.
know that the results are the same, the experience will
Yes.
just be slightly different based on what you feel most comfortable with.
Exactly, but you said it right. Like, it really depends because some people are very shy.
Mm,
Some people are very introvert
yeah.
or extrovert, like, and you can also be triggered.
Yeah.
Because how many times, people are like, oh my God, like, she was so blah, 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 and me, I'm more like shy.
Mm,
So it also, like triggers you on another level,
sure.
which when you work just with me on one, you might be less triggered.
Right. Well, and it also feels like it would be a safe space for people who, let's say, are very, very sensitive to other people's
Yes.
energy and maybe a little bit timid, as you said, to go
Mm-hmm.
and share in other people's energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's really like whatever you prefer in a
Mm.
way.
In the group settings, do you have a lot of the same people showing up again and again?
It depends. Sometimes, yes, it's funny because most of the time it's like a 1 year season of seeing kind of the same faces. And then
Mm.
there is a shift.
Oh, fun.
They send me their friend, their husband, their children, and they're like, I'm done, like, but I love it, like some people always come back to my work because I do workshop in Miami, New York, and San Diego,
Mm.
and anywhere if you need me.
Sure.
But right now, that's my three states. And because, I come back every 3 months, they're like, okay, let's go back seeing Marine. I would love now to work on that, like, and now on this. So, and it's nice to see actually the evolution actually of the client, I would say.
Sure.
But I also get new faces. Like, it really depends actually.
Okay. So, last question. What would you say to somebody who's thinking about doing constellation therapy? They're contemplating it. How would you advise them to sort of prepare?
Well, you have to take responsibility for
Mm,
your life.
yeah.
I mean, there is no preparation. There is no need to know again the story, your family story, and everything, but
Hmm.
there is a need to be responsible.
Mm,
Nothing, absolutely nothing can happen in terms of healing if you're not responsible at first for your own life.
I love that. And
Like, it's
that's
just, yeah.
that's big though. I mean, that's something that if you really check within to make sure that you are taking responsibility for your own
Mm,
life. I
mm.
mean, that tells you a whole lot about where you are in your healing process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
But yeah, like being responsible makes you an adult.
Mhm.
So when you do a constellation, you have to be responsible because there is no judgment allowed. There is no criticize, nothing. So if you are here, like to just judge your mom, your dad, like and curse your entire family, I'm not the right one for you because I will call you on your bullshit right away.
Right.
I'm well known for that.
Right. Beautiful.
So yeah.
And if somebody wants to join one of your constellation workshops or work with you one-on-one, how do they get a hold of you?
So Instagram,
Mhm.
Instagram, my website, Marine Sélénée. Again, I live in Miami. There is another workshop that you can check on my events page in September. Then I will be in New York, and then finally I'm going to move to LA. So I will be in the West Coast for now. But the good news is, thanks to Zoom, I also work remotely.
Beautiful.
So I connect, I have Australian clients or Balinese clients or French clients or Romanian clients. So that's the beauty of our world, like this connection.
I love it.
And yeah, you can just DM me or send me an email. I'm here, like, so feel free to reach out to me.
Wonderful. So to spell Maureen's website, it's MarineSelenee.com.
Thank you so much, Annette.
Thank you, Maureen. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And this has been a super eye-opening conversation about family constellations. And I personally can't wait to participate in one. I'm going to be in LA a few times since my sister lives there. I will definitely be
wonderful.
I will definitely be chatting with you
Yes. Yes,
so
with
we can take
pleasure.
part in something. I think that would be absolutely incredible. So thank you again.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you.
Have an amazing day and never stop exploring your soul because it is the most important relationship you will ever have. If you are interested in learning more about me and the sessions that I do, feel free to go to my website at infinitesoullove.com. On all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Infinite Soul Love 1111. Hey, and if you feel called, I would love it if you could rate The Heart of You on whatever streaming service you're using, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please take a moment, give it a review. It really does help the channel. Thanks so much.